Hello and welcome to flatcapeurotalk, and this is going to be the episode where we're going to be breaking down the top 6 of European football's top 5 leagues. And I'm going to be joined by Darius here, my very good friend. Darius, I think you're going to be challenging me. Lots of people, probably see you as, even a bit more informed on some of these leagues than me. So it's going to be a good challenge. I'm going to be bringing up our picks here. I think we're going to be starting just with the Premier League, Darius, if that's all right with you. And maybe
Perfect.
Just picks here. Your picks are off to the left. And everybody, Paxton Road, the description will be down below. His link will be down below to the Twitter, to all of it. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen him. He's going to be on Irish Hotspur plenty as well. But everybody, this is Darius. He's going to be explaining his picks for the Premier League.
So looking at it now, I did these, I think it was quite late last night, but I took a lot of time. I took about an hour to think about all of them. So I did really try to take some thought into it. And when I look at the Premier League, I think length, and I also think of challenging each other. So the teams that I've got in the top 6, I very much go off how those teams are going to perform against each other, because I would say the top 4 of the top 6 should beat most teams in that Premier League, even your Tottenhams and Leicester, Arsenal's, West Ham's, Leeds, Aston Villa's. I still expect those top 4 teams to beat them. So what I'm really looking at is how they perform against each other. And for me, with the addition of Romelu Lukaku, I think Chelsea, and also just the tactical genius of Thomas Tuchel, I just think that Chelsea are going to be able to beat a lot of the teams that they maybe shouldn't always beat, like your City, United, and Liverpool. I just think that Chelsea will be able to beat those teams and then comfortably beat all the other teams in the league. So that's the reason I've placed them first. City I've put second solely because of squad depth. I think just because when you have a team like Manchester City and a world-class coach like Pep Guardiola, I think it's very hard, unless there's an injury crisis, for you to sort of not finish within the top 3. So that's my choice for Manchester City being second.
Quickly on Chelsea, I was going to say, maybe to clarify, which I kind of maybe feel the same way, just for the listeners, do you feel like with Chelsea, they're just going to have maybe the best record of this kind of top 6 that we're looking at? Is that maybe one of your thought processes behind it?
I honestly don't really see Chelsea losing a game at home. I mean, a game away. I think Chelsea could actually go quite unbeaten. Chelsea and United have great away records. I think Chelsea have a great system to play away, and United have a great away record. So I can see Chelsea getting a lot of points away against these teams that we're talking about. And then potentially at home, Chelsea are going to be able to play well at home. So I just think that at most they're going to lose maybe to Man City and United. At most, I believe. I think they'll beat Liverpool both home and away. I think they'll beat us both home and away, sadly. And I think they'll beat Leicester both home and away as well. So I just think based on that and sort of the tactical nous that Thomas Tuchel is going to bring and sort of changing his game every game on a week basis, I think managers aren't going to be able to sort of guess who's going to play and what sort of tactic they're going to deploy. He might not even play Lukaku in certain games. He might play a completely direct, rapid front 3 that are going to counter attack. So you never know how they're going to play. So I just think Chelsea have got too much in the squad in terms of variety, as opposed to City, that's going to take them over the line. And I think Thomas Tuchel will plan for every single game. And I think Pep, as seen by playing against us, he played so many times against Tottenham and hasn't changed it. And we sort of almost snuffed out what they're going to do when we play them at home. So I just think that Chelsea are going to be able to really, set themselves apart from the teams tactically and sort of diversely in their squad.
Yeah, I really like, your praise for Thomas Tuchel. I really feel the same way. I do think he is kind of a bit, more clever, a bit more tactical now than, people give him credit for. I think he could probably, have another really, really, really strong Premier League season. Obviously, he kind of, started, a bit behind, had to, pick up the pieces that Lampard left behind for him. And he honestly has taken them in stride, has taken them quite well. Maybe we could move on to, where our difference maybe here is right in our top 6. And for me, it's going to be, I have Liverpool in second place, and I'll explain that, quickly, but maybe we should get into maybe why you have Manchester United at 3rd and Liverpool at 4th. If, what's your thought process behind that?
First of all, I want to say that after looking at your prediction, I think that might be the one that you get right. And a lot of people don't think will be right, because every single prediction I've seen from a lot of reputable people and friends as well haven't really put Liverpool in that top 3. They've normally put them in 4th place. And I think everybody forgets that Anfield is back. And I think people forget the importance of Anfield and the importance of Van Dijk. And they've just played, just recently, obviously, this is pre-recorded, but they've just played, who did they just play? Sorry. Out my head, Norwich.
Is it Norwich? They smacked Norwich in their first game, and then they just smacked Burnley as well.
Sorry, Burnley. They just played Burnley. So they were playing at home, and Anfield was just, it was rocking. And I think Van Dijk and Anfield being back simultaneously added on to the signing of Ibrahima Konate. I just think that now that defense is sort of a lot more sturdy if injuries happen, which I predict will happen, because all four of those centre backs that we've named, Gomez, Van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, and Matip, have all had injury issues in the past. So barring any sort of extreme injury woes like last season, I think you might be onto something with that Liverpool finishing second. The only reason I've put Manchester United third is because of the individuals in that team, and just I just think, I don't know what it is about United, but they don't seem like they're going to stop. And you've added on Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho, who I think will seamlessly fit into the team. That's the only reason why I think that Manchester United are going to be very, very much so in this race. Just because like their defensive record was fantastic last season, and their attacking record was pretty much fantastic, and their away record was pretty much fantastic. So if you're just adding on to that, and I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably out of the 6 managers that we've got all listed from these clubs, is probably the least tactical, should I say. He still knows what he's doing, I definitely have to admit. And also with individuals like Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood coming through, I think it's very, very hard to sort of discredit, or not even discredit, but sort of not think that they're going to do very well. And then you've got their bench with Donny van de Beek and other players who are going to be wanting to fight into this 11. It's a concoction that's going to breed competitiveness between that squad. And that can only make players much, much better, in my opinion. I think Sancho will be a difference maker. I think creating more chances on the right, and not really just relying on Bruno from central and Pogba from deeper, is going to be massive, because now it's going to sort of, the left backs and centre backs are going to be a lot more wary of Sancho, which is going to create space for Bruno in the middle. So I just think it's all going to add on to an even more threatening Manchester United team.
Wow, listen to that, guys. A concoction to breed good players. I mean, this is just the type of wordplay that we're going to be listening to for a lot of these predictions. Honestly, well done, Darius. Well done.
Thank you very much.
For me, that was really hard to argue with, especially, considering the Manchester United depth, which I will admit, I definitely was forgetting when making up my top 6. I kind of was, only kind of considering their starting 11, and really the only strong basis I have for them finishing 4th is simply, I don't really rate Solskjaer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I really do think he can have these moments where he just gets caught out, he just gets found out. It does seem that he doesn't prepare his teams for certain games. But that being said, there have been plenty of times when he has prepared his team quite well for certain games. So he really,
sort of likes to be under the pressure, doesn't he? He sort of likes to be under the pressure. And do you think, this is a question to you, do you think that now the fans are back in Old Trafford, do you think then they're going to want to see sort of a full front Manchester United attacking all the time?
But they are seeing that at the moment. I will say Bruno Fernandes has been absolutely just tearing people apart. It's honestly, he's been doing it for fun recently. It does scare me seeing Bruno doing that. But to be honest, I think this could be a season maybe potentially similar to that, big Premier League entrance from all these managers that we're kind of speaking of, the likes before. I think it was Antonio Conte for Chelsea, obviously with Jurgen Klopp, Pep. And then at the time, Jose for United. Spurs still had Pochettino at the time. There were just lots of big managers in the game. And you could think of it this season as being, similar to that, where it's just a lot of big managers, and one of them is going to have the most consistent winning formula. And to be honest, if I were to look at, the top 6 here of these managers, I definitely would put, Solskjaer as, maybe being the worst of the managers tactically. But that being said, you don't need to be the best tactically in order to win the Prem. You don't need to be the best tactically in order to get even third. I mean, it's not like, I guess I'm talking about them as if they're going to win it, and you put them at third, which I think is plenty possible. But I guess my major difference is I'm going to be going for, a bit of a German, I guess title race, in terms of Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp. It could be interesting. I do think they are probably tactically the best in the Prem, but that's just, basing that just off of my own bias, I will say, towards those two coaches. But maybe going towards the 5th and 6th positions. Lastly, Darius,
speaking of Spurs.
Speaking of bias as well, we have Spurs finishing up above Brendan Rodgers. I will admit, I think that could easily be flipped around. But then again, I will say Leicester City, they finished only 1-0 above Wolves. I do feel like, Brendan Rodgers has a bit of that, kind of a, strong start, but then fades out very easily towards the end. And maybe just with Nuno, the professor, our Jedi, maybe he can just, get us to new heights, maybe, and get us 5th place, which I think is plenty possible. It seems like something that's even possibly expected of him this season is to get us to this 5th and 6th position. So, I hopefully he can stand up to it. What do you think?
Yeah, by the way, first of all, Arsenal fans, sorry, I don't even know if you're going to finish top 10 this season. So you can hate all you like. I'm sorry. That's out of this is the top 6 now. This is the big 6 now, unfortunately.
Big boy 6, yes, it is.
Yeah. I think, again, call me crazy, call me whatever. It's been only a month and a bit since we've had Nuno, but he's like a mini Thomas Tuchel for me. He sort of seems like he's going to go by game basis. He seems like he can play multiple styles of football, which I love to see from a manager. I think having diversity and sort of being able to play different styles in the Premier League is so important, because there's so many different teams in the Premier League. You can have Man City in the Premier League, then there's Burnley, then there's a team like Brentford, then there's Leeds, then there's Newcastle. There's so many different teams, so you can't play. I don't think you can play the same against every team. No. And for me, Nuno, and I'm talking about, obviously, we've got 12, 11 days left of the transfer window. Yeah, things can happen. Certain strikers can go to certain teams, and that will change my opinion on who wins the league. But at the moment, I think nothing major is going to happen. So I'm going to say Kane's at Tottenham for my predictions. I still think we'll finish 5th. I think if Kane really wants to sort of prove himself and get a move to wherever he wants to go next season, we could even potentially scratch getting close to 4th, but I don't think it's possible with the teams that we're competing with. I think a 5th place finish for Nuno's first season, betting in quite a few players, because I still believe we'll bring in a couple more players, will be a very, very good season. And if you can go on from that and sort of build on and develop these younger players who we're signing, it's only going to be a good thing. So I just hope that Tottenham can be consistent and can play in different styles, and we can beat teams differently and sort of not be so one-sided, so predictable. Because with Poch, we sort of got quite predictable, but at the same time, with Jose, we also got predictable as well. So I just think that we need to see diversity and we need to see variety in our football. And I think Nuno will bring that, and that will confuse a lot of teams. And when you have Son and Kane and Højbjerg and players like that in your team, you should be doing pretty well. I think our squad is our 11 definitely is very, very good. And a lot of people don't give us credit for that, but our starting 11 is very, very good. So, and with the addition of Christian Romero, it should only get better, really.
Oh, you're filling me with confidence. You're filling me with confidence.
Maybe too much.
And maybe just, to summarize, a good point you made, I will say, in the case of Nuno, he is one of those managers that does have a really good, scalp list in terms of, taking on really stronger teams and actually, turning out to be the better team. And in terms of maybe his record against the top 6, maybe a decent shout to say that maybe Spurs might actually have a better record against the top 6 than we've had before. And maybe it's just actually the lower level sides that we'll struggle against.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about earlier on as well. Obviously saying it's important to, obviously, you shouldn't be taking as for granted beating the teams that we're below, but you should expect with the players that we've got and the quality that we have up front to be outscoring a lot of teams. And if we can defend better than we did last season, and we didn't do terribly badly defensively, then I can only expect us to do somewhat better than last season. And last season we finished 7th. So let's hope we can jump Leicester. And don't get me wrong, Leicester do scare me. They've got some Patson Daka and Boubakary Soumaré and Vestergaard as well. Patson Daka scares me a lot. He scares me a lot.
Puts a lot of fear into people's hearts. I'm in a season-long fantasy team for the Premier League, so you're stuck with all the players that you pick in the beginning, that you draft in the beginning. And Patson Daka, I do have a lot of faith in, and that's why I got him. But moving on to the Serie A, Darius, I think I'm going to start here and just maybe explain, maybe because I feel like I have a lot of differences here, which will be interesting. With Juventus, I will say, they did not, just a reminder to everybody, they did not win the Serie A title last season. It was Inter, but maybe the interesting thing is that they're bringing back, the Don Massimiliano Allegri. I love Allegri. I love him in that Juve Netflix documentary. I think he speaks a beautiful Italian. I don't speak Italian, but it just sounds incredible the way he says it. As well, he is very strong defensively, very, very tactically efficient and intelligent as well. I just feel like, Allegri, he's just built to win the Serie A, especially with the players that he has at his disposal. I will say, I think he can easily do it. And also, the Serie A is also kicking off this weekend. It starts a little bit later than the rest of the league, so we'll be exciting to see that. So these predictions, we're well ahead of, any of the Serie A games. everybody, just so you know. For my second pick, AC Milan, I forget the manager of AC Milan just now, but he really did have a spectacular season and kind of almost seemed like had a bit of a Brendan Rodgers kind of esque season where they started incredibly strong. Yeah. Thank you. They started incredibly strong and then just started to fade out spectacularly and in not so great of way. I do feel like AC Milan is only getting stronger, though. They did, also keep Ibra for, I do believe, about 2 more seasons, just maybe as part of influence on the squad. And then you also consider, Rafael Leao is only going to get better. Rebic is also, I do believe, going to be staying and is going to be a focal point there. You then consider, Tonali is, that incredible signing that they had. Kier had an unbelievable Euros, proving to be an unbelievable center back in the Serie A. And then finally, I believe his name is Calabria from also for Milan. He had a spectacular season. So you really do think that this Milan team can only get better. Unlike Inter, they do have a bit more, cash available to them. They're not as cash strapped. They weren't as hurt maybe by the pandemic as others. So I feel like they could maybe, I wouldn't say they'll battle for second. I would be surprised if they get second, but I would like them to get second. And I think it's an outside shout, for them to finish second. For me, it's going to be Roma then. I do, as much as maybe I do, slight Jose, I am, honestly, still part of the Jose fan club. I'm still part of it.
Completely.
And there's just this feeling that he has this effect on the Roma team. A lot of people saw, the red card that he had and a bunch of the red cards in that friendly as, maybe it being, already the end of Jose. I kind of saw that as being the beginning. You could tell that they were all fighting for him. You could tell that he's already had some influence on the dressing room. There's this really good feeling for me, especially whatever, I forget his name, but whoever that guy, I think it's like Kurlikov or something like that, that's been scoring for them recently. He looks like an absolute baller.
I heard of him.
Yeah, and then Lazio, Maurizio Sarri, has come back to
completely forgot. Oh my god,
he's come back to the Serie A, Darius.
Completely forgot.
I kind of let you out cold here. I kind of left you out cold here.
That might have thrown me.
Sarri ball, I do think fits well in the Serie A. I can see it doing really well in the Serie A, and so I do see with Lazio, it's not really that great of a squad when you consider. So that probably could hurt him. But then again, the team that he built with Napoli, wasn't a ton of investment into that squad. And he built, basically the best attacking team in all of Europe. And then moving on, speaking of the best attacking team in all of Europe, Atalanta, there's this odd feeling for me that considering they have had a bit of an exodus of certain players like Romero, Galini, even some other ones that are rumored out the door, there's just this feeling that I feel like they'll be an incredibly, exciting team to watch, an incredibly cool team to watch, like always. But I just feel like with maybe the new blood in the Serie A, especially the new defensive blood in the likes of Jose and, even the new also, tactically attacking genius and Sarri, there's just this feeling for me that maybe Gasperini, it's not like he'll get found out, but he just won't have enough, to his disposal to be able to take on these sides. And then Inter Milan, I feel like will just have a huge fall from form. Yeah. I feel like they'll have a big fall from grace.
Can't as lose much your best striker and do great, can you?
And Simone Inzaghi, as much as they seem to rate him as a manager, it's not like I really feel like he had that spectacular of a season with Lazio. I felt like he could have done even a bit better, if you ask me.
Started off well, did he?
Started off well, but then, seemed to fade away as well when they played Bayern. I know Bayern is just not a fun team to play, but the way they were really it really was men against boys with Bayern. It felt like at one point as well, like Bayern, were taking it a bit easy on them. It just worries me, Simone Inzaghi. I feel like he has a lot more still to learn. And so that's why I feel like, with all the players leaving Inter Milan, it's just going to be tough. What do you think, Darius? Any of these picks that I made here that maybe that you kind of disagree with, or maybe, forgot about, or whatever it may have been?
You might have swayed my mind on a couple, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. You might have swayed my mind on a couple. I'm going to run down through a bit like you did, because I think that was what you said for some of those teams really made me think more about my choices, and particularly Atalanta, because my mindset with Atalanta, I think Juve, sorry, let me go on to Juve first. Juve, I think with the fine wine that is Massimiliano Allegri coming back, and the addition of, well, not the addition, but keeping your players such as Ronaldo's and McKennie's, and bringing in, the addition of Manuel Locatelli, because that is official now. I just think that, he knows how to do it. He's done it how many times in a row? Was it 5 times in a row? He did it for AC. He's going to be able to do it for them. I think that they'll quite easily win.
Locatelli, thank you for mentioning that as well.
Yeah.
Only made our case even better there. Thank you.
He
Go on
quite
now.
easily, I think will win this. And I don't think anybody's really going to be surprised at that either, to be honest. Depends how long he stays. I don't know how long he's going to stay there for, but it seems like that squad just needed an elite manager to sort of push them over the line because they've got some real players. And again, for me, the two to watch out for me in the Serie A for Juventus, Dejan Kulusevski and Federico Chiesa. Those two wingers are some of my favorite wingers, favorite young wingers.
Yeah, they're becoming so. Yeah,
they're amazing. So yeah, I think they'll do very, very well. Atalanta for me, goals win games, and if you can score as many goals as they score, I just don't see how they don't do well. They always seem to finish in the top three, and also with the addition of Merih Demiral, I think that their defense won't take as big of a hit as people will suspect. Obviously, losing a big centre back like Romero. So you know what, mate? Honestly, I really think. I think if Atalanta signed Tammy, they would have competed with Juve for the title. I really think Tammy and Atalanta would have been like an almost perfect combination. It would have been like a younger Duvan Zapata. So I think AC Milan. I've just gone on to transfer marks now, mate, and I'm gonna name a couple of players they've signed, and I think you might be right about them finishing second. So they obviously made Fikayo Tomori.
And they've kept Teo, everybody. They do have Teo Hernandez.
They kept Teo Hernandez, who's a fantastic left back.
He's one of the new Marcelos, I will say, of the world.
Absolutely,
he's also maybe even has a bit of Hakimi in him, I would say too, but even stronger.
And in my opinion, Hakimi is the best fullback in the world. So saying that is a massive compliment. So I completely agree with you. But Fikayo Tomori on a permanent, Mike Maignan is an absolutely incredible.
I forgot about that one.
Obviously, losing Donnarumma, that's going to be a massive hit. But to bring in Mike Maignan, I think is a great signing. Brahim Diaz on another loan is a great signing. Florenzi, I think, is not bad at all. I don't think he's amazing, but I think
always rated him though. Yeah,
I think he'll do fine. He did quite well for PSG last season, and then I think the big one for me is Olivier Giroud. I think he's going to be.
He just scored a brace. I heard even today as well. He just scored a brace today. So there you go.
I'm so happy he doesn't play for any of the London clubs anymore because I'm a Giroud stan and I can say that with chest now because he plays for AC Milan. I absolutely.
I said that once too. He's amazing. Said that once and I got slated for it.
Exactly. I could kind of say it when he was playing for Chelsea and get away with it because I actually don't mind Chelsea that much, but. Boy, he plays for AC Milan now. He is amazing. Olivier Giroud is an absolutely fantastic striker. And if you've got him and Ibra to share the minutes, you bring in Leao if you need him. Don't see how they can't do well. Roma, next season, I think they'll finish third. I think they need to get you. I think Jose's already started this whole it's everyone against us with the whole beef and 25 red cards in the first game. I think he knows what he has to do. I think the Roma fans, when they introduced him and he got off the plane and sort of got into Rome,
they had to shut down the city.
They're gonna worship him, and if he starts getting big results against big teams, it'll be disgraceful to. Is it It's not Stadio Olimpico, is it?
It is the Stadio Olimpico.
Stadio Olimpico, of course it is. Stadio Olimpico. It's going to be almost impossible to go there and play well against Roma. So. Yeah, I just think it's going to take a season for them to really get his signings in, get more signings in. Obviously, with the crowds coming back, they're going to have more revenue to spend, I think, next season. So, Zaniolo coming back from injury, I think, is going to be a big one. Tammy Abraham, obviously, joining Roma is going to be massive. I think he's going to do crazy in Serie A. So, I think next season it's going to be for them. The reason I put Inter Milan is because I just think they will do enough and. From what I'm hearing, Duvan Zapata looks like he might join them. So
that's a good signing.
I think that will then him and Dzeko will probably get them over the line. Obviously, Lautaro Martinez signing a new contract as well. You've got a lot of things to work with Inter. So I don't think they'll do as bad as people are making out to be. And also Napoli.
Yeah, I left out Napoli, so maybe let's go into that. So I left out Napoli. I didn't exactly explain that, but maybe, and you left out Lazio. So why do you like Napoli maybe instead?
Victor Osimhen.
Mm-hmm,
I think he's just such a big. He had a difficult season last season, and he still looked like amazing in my opinion. I think he's so creative and he can score as well. He had injuries, he had COVID. I think that really affected the way he wanted to perform consistently for Napoli. And I know I'm not actually entirely sure who their new manager is. I'll have to double check, but I know Gattuso left. But I just think that the players that they've got sort of going forward and also their midfield with Zielinski, Fabian Ruiz is still there. I think that the forward with Mertens and Insigne, just basically Mertens is a legend now, but Insigne is in his prime. I think not Correa, sorry, Correa plays for Lazio, but I also think Osimhen is gonna be fine this season. I just think Koulibaly's not left. I still think he's going to be an adequate centre back. I think they've got a good enough team and a good enough spine to obviously not do amazing, but to finish in sixth place. And I think it will be Lazio who, again, Sarri's a great manager, and I completely forgot that Sarri joined Lazio, which is crazy. But I think, again, his tactics and sort of understanding how to play his system will take maybe a year to get used to, and then you might see Lazio and Roma definitely challenging a lot more next season.
I'm really enjoying this, Darius, because it's almost like, we're playing like trump cards against each other, in games. We're kind of saying, like, I think you forgot about my ace of spades here. We almost, in a way, I will say to everybody, as much as Darius and I love talking about this stuff, we didn't exactly help each other out, I would say, too much on our picks. And even Darius had to go first with the picks. So you do think that maybe he was at a bit of a disadvantage, and he's done really well because, he's reminded me, some of the transfers that I even forgot about with some of his picks. So it's honestly a good back and forth going on. But moving on to the Bundesliga. This one is hilarious, I will say to everybody. We almost will probably tag team this one just because his picks I just couldn't disagree with. I just really couldn't disagree with. Maybe I'll break it down quickly and he'll give you maybe the longer version. With Bayern, I just feel like it's Bayern. Julian Nagelsmann has started off a bit shaky, but you do consider that no matter how shaky Bayern seem to start, they always somehow, come out on top. I will say, though, last season was probably the closest it had ever been, without where they started off really shaky with Hansi Flick. And it seemed like, at one point, they might have to finish second, or third. But then it just Dortmund and Leipzig just always seem to find a way, to not be able to follow through. I could see that happening again. As sad as it is, I could see that happening again. With Dortmund, though, I feel like Dortmund are looking a lot stronger coming up this season. I mean, every single time we kind of think that maybe they might have, a worse side, they do actually come out with, all the youngsters that we seem to forget about. You just look at their bench sometimes with the youngsters, and I do just remind myself that this is practically the best talent factory in the world, the best talent and scouting factory in the world. With Marco Rosa as well, one of the best managers from last season. You could consider this team to be just an easy second, if not first, would be not a bad outside shout, I would say, considering as well. Erling Haaland seems absolutely determined to win things with Dortmund, and some people are seeming to forget that. Maybe Haaland wants to leave soon, maybe after this season, but he just seems to be like someone that wants to win no matter what. And you have to, and you have to take that into consideration, especially even when, just for the, the DFB Super Cup for the recently against Bayern, just him just kicking the air after, they conceded, him just screaming when he's missing his chances. It just really shows how much, just winning means to him. Moving on with Leipzig, the American Marsh. It's hard to say. I think they'll be consistent in their, attacking displays and brilliance, but I'm a bit worried that the Bundesliga could be a bit of a step up for him and he won't actually do as strongly as people might think. And then I could actually even maybe say Mönchengladbach really look good this season. I think there's a bit of a managerial switcheroo as well. I actually forget because they almost was like, it was like maybe Darius will explain it later.
So I believe Frankfurt.
Glasner moved.
It's Adi Hütter, who was at Frankfurt, moved to Gladbach. And Glasner left Wolfsburg, but I can't remember where he's gone to. And obviously Bosch left Leverkusen as well. But it's Adi Hütter who's at Gladbach, and he was formerly at Frankfurt. And Frankfurt were amazing. I think Frankfurt were amazing. At one point, they were with Silva and Kamada and Kostic and all of those players, and even Jovic when he was on loan, they were playing some fantastic football. So I think, really you're right about Gladbach.
Yeah, so Gladbach I could see, being an easy third, especially thank you for saying Adi Hütter. I do remember him as the Eintracht Frankfurt manager, and he really did look strong with them. Brought a lot of players' best qualities out, you might say, is a good way of summarizing that team. Seemed to, tap into the best traits of everybody. And then Bayer Leverkusen, they just have a really good talent factory there. They have Edmund Tapsoba, who's practically, you might say, one of the best center backs in all world football last season. As well, he was playing as a center back under Peter Bosch's system, which I I will say, is not kind to center backs. It pretty much asks them to be the distributors, the facilitators out of the back. But then as well, it asks you also to be, play the highest line, in all of world football. So really, if you're a center back that can come out of a Petter Bosch system as being, a strong, good center back that everybody rates, it really does mean you are world class, I will say.
That's a great point, yeah.
And then Florian Wirtz, I would say, is just seemingly one of the top talents, in all of world football, not even German football. I would say all of world football. I would say he's like a better Emile Smith-Rowe, the way he plays. He almost seems to move a bit similarly as well, I would say. Yeah. Even looks a bit similar. I would say a bit better looking.
I'm so happy you're putting so much light onto him, because again, it doesn't get spoke about with the Pedris and the Fatties of the world. For me, he's up there. The way he plays.
He's only 18. He just turned 18 as well. He's like Pedri.
Ridiculous.
Pedri, actually, that's a good point. He's very similar to Pedri in that regard. And just being Pedri seems everybody's caught on to him. But yeah, I would say the next one you need to look at is Florian Wirtz. But moving on, Stuttgart, this is everybody's kind of hipster attacking team. I would say like kind of a cheap man's Atalanta, in the way that they play, or like a lazy man's Atalanta, you might say. But in terms of, Stuttgart, you're looking at some of the two most exciting, like wing fullbacks, wide wing backs in the world, and the likes of Silas Wamangituka, who will be returning to the Bundesliga.
Is it confirmed he's returning?
Yeah, he had some mix-up considering something with his agent, kind of falsifying his identity, which was, honestly, that's just ridiculous what people like that have to go through. It's just ridiculous that people take advantage of him like that. And then as well, you have Tanguy Koulibaly on the other side, who's a 19-year-old Frenchman. He's unbelievable as well. They're both absolutely rapid. I mean, these guys you might see them in the 100-meter final at some point as well. And this team, and it's also Wataru Endo, one of the best, Bundesliga center mids from last season, the Japanese international. Who else am I missing? Sasa Kaladzic. It's just a really just exciting team. It's a really exciting team to watch.
They lost Gregor Kobel, but I think they will be okay. I think, like you said, you mentioned those are the exact 4 players for me that are really going to do big things. And Stuttgart came up from the second division last season.
Oh, they used to be one of the worst teams in German football. That's what makes
crazy.
It so funny.
And that's what makes it so funny. And that's why I sort of in my heart just want to root for them to do well, because like you said, they're sort of everyone's hipster favorite team, exactly like Atalanta. It's such a great shout that is. So yeah, I agree with you.
Anything I'm missing out on the Bundesliga before we move on, maybe, Darius?
I actually disagree. I disagree with you on Jesse Marsch. I actually think Jesse Marsch is going to do quite well. I think he'll finish third quite comfortably, and that's only because of the players that he's got at his disposal. Dominik Szoboszlai is here now. He's here, and he's going to prove to everybody that kid is special. Yeah,
I also love Nkunku as well. I do love
Nkunku as well. Like we could go through the whole team. I love Emil Forsberg. I think he's an incredible talent. I think there's so many. Willy Orban, I think, is a great centre back. And Helena, I think, is a wonderful left back. There's so many players. I even think Hwang Hee-chan is going to have a great season again, because he was at Salzburg. He plays so good under Jesse Marsch. I think he's going to come and be fantastic now. Well, not even fantastic, but I think he'll have much more of a role to play. Andre Silva joined from Frankfurt. I think probably second best striker in the league, third best striker in the league, I would say, behind Lewandowski and Haaland. He scored more than Haaland in the league last season. So I just think the individuals in that team and sort of the way Jesse Marsch will play, I think they'll create too many chances not to beat teams. Dominik Szoboszlai's stats against it was absolutely ridiculous. His stats. It was 4 shots, 4 chances created, 92% pass accuracy. The guy was on absolute fire. And did you actually see the technique of his strikes? People are comparing him to KDB, and I said, whoa, calm down, going crazy there. But the way he strikes a ball is fantastic. So if he can continue his form and score goals and get assists like he was doing for Salzburg, I think Leipzig will be fine. And then the only other team I want to just obviously give my praise to is Dortmund, like you said. I just think Dortmund look unbelievable. And maybe that is down to Erling Haaland just being Erling Haaland and being my favorite player in the world at the moment, just because I don't know what that guy can do wrong. He's just everything about him as a 21-year-old to do the stuff he does, or 22 now, however old he is. It scares me, and I don't want to. I keep saying this on Twitter. I don't want to say crazy things because people are gonna say, why are you saying this stuff about a guy who's only had 2-3 seasons at the top? But if he continues the way he's going on, I don't see him not scoring 30 goals a season for the next 10, 12 years. So for me, any team with Erling Haaland in their team is going to have a chance of winning the league. Mm-hmm. He is the most selfless striker. while also being the most deadly striker. He's going to create a partnership with him and Marlon that will resemble him and Sancho. It obviously won't be as good as that, but Marlon, I think, will have a fantastic season. Moukoko, so young. Reyna's got more
love
responsibility.
Moukoko.
He's amazing. Reyna's got more responsibility now. I think Gio Reyna is an absolutely incredible player.
Player.
Who else can I? There's so many other players. Felix Passlack, not a lot of people know. I think he's going to have a good season. I think
maybe one of the best center mids in all of world football. Jude Bellingham, I would say as well.
Again, I completely forgot about him. Jude Bellingham. Mo Dahoud had an amazing match.
He's a baller as well.
He's
turning into that.
Even Emre Can seems to have his role in that team, playing sort of a CDM centre mid. You've got Axel Witsel, you've got Akanji Zagadou, who obviously gets injured, but there's so many players in that team. Rafa Guerrero. There's an unreal amount of talent in that team, and I think that Marco Rose is the guy to sort of tap into that a level. And maybe buying, again, I keep saying about managers coming in and needing a year to sort of bed in their tactics, but Nagelsmann tactics are he's a very tactic heavy based manager, and it's not going to be easy to sort of bed those tactics in straight away. But Bayern's Bayern. You'll never bet against Bayern, but if any season Dortmund were to win the league with Erling Haaland the way he is, 8 goal involvements in his first 2 games, like, come on, man. Like, he's actually ridiculous. I really will not. I wouldn't be surprised if Dortmund really took it all the way to the end with Bayern. But again, Lewandowski doesn't seem like he's going to stop. So you have to bet with Bayern, don't you?
Definitely, you have to. I feel like, Dortmund this year, I would say to everyone, Dortmund this year, if there's ever a year to bet on Dortmund, to maybe take it away from Bayern, it definitely could be this one. And
watch out for the Champions League. They might do quite well in the Champions League. That might be the competition where maybe if they don't see,
look for something.
Yeah, they might try and push for a semi-final or even a final. Because again, if Haaland's in form, I think they could really just do what they want.
And they definitely took it to City. I will say that, considering
100%.
They were a much weaker team than
100%.
most years, I would say Dortmund last season under also a weaker manager in Terzic. They definitely took it to City. You can still recognize the Dortmund system, the Jurgen Klopp system from before is still there. It's still in the blood. And that's always a system that can terrify teams. But moving on to Ligue 1, which is probably for me, not my forte, I will say. And, this is maybe even the point of this channel, everybody, so that I can improve, on my Ligue 1. It will be my opportunity, to just improve a bit of my knowledge on this league, because it's a bit disappointing, because I would say maybe Darius, despite, Ligue 1 maybe not being the most exciting league to watch, it still has probably the best talent factory.
That's what I was going to say.
It's a funny
That's the
paradox.
reason why I have to watch it, because it's like, if you want to know about the upcoming players of tomorrow, you have to watch Ligue 1. Like, if you're not watching Ligue 1, you're missing about 40% of the next up-and-coming players. So
you're missing the best players in the world, practically, of the future, and the likes of Wesley Fofanas of the world, and even I dare say it, some of the players like Pepe, even though he was bought for an exorbitant,
Ismaila
Rafinha has come from there, Ismaila Sarr has come from there. Thank you. It's honestly, it's unfortunate that the league, I would say, is not so exciting. The games are not always too exciting, but then again, we will say it's a bit of a paradox where it is just the best players in the world that are coming out of there, though. So you just have to watch it. But PSG, I think, considering the investment, considering just the team itself, I think everybody knows what that team is going to look like. It's absurd. Maybe the only thing that could take it away would be maybe just the idea that, maybe financial fair play might deduct them like 30 points or something. And if they don't win by 30 points, maybe they won't win the league.
I was going to say they could probably still finish 30 points there. Like, actually, I'm scared PSG will go 38-38. Literally, like, I don't know what PSG are going to, like, even now, and they're not even playing Messi. They're not even playing Neymar. They're not even playing Ramos. Not even playing Donnarumma. They only just started Wijnaldum against Brest the other day.
Even so, I would say.
Is the defense? Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to get your thoughts on this. I mean, I think the other reason that just ensures them just winning so much is just the idea that they put, Ramos and Messi together. It's like putting Voldemort and Harry Potter on the same team, I would say.
I think those guys are at the age now where they will be thinking about the bigger picture and sort of what legacy they can leave if they win the Champions League and do what they are expected to do with this team. Because, yes, I agree. That is almost literally like putting a blood and a crip on the same team and saying, work it out. But at the end of the day, you sort of have to realize, like, this is PSG. We've got Neymar, we've got Messi, we've got Mbappe, Ramos, Marquinhos, Donnarumma, Hakimi. Like, God, I feel sick saying that team on it makes me feel
It does.
sick.
It's honestly,
horrible.
I would even say another question to you, Darius. Is it kind of that team where, you see someone's fantasy team or you see someone's, I meant actually FIFA team, you see their
World
career mode
11,
team.
mate. That's what it
Yeah.
is. It's World 11 from the old FIFA days. I genuinely, like, I saw somebody put on Twitter, like, if I see any of my friends picking PSG on FIFA, PES, whatever, I'm just not playing because it's just not. It's not right. It shouldn't be allowed, and that's why, like, I'm so scared for my boy Poch, because he's got no room for error now. Like, literally no room for error. If he loses any sort of game, people are going to be like, "How the hell did you lose that?"
I don't even know how they'll even be able to lose the ball. I would say, how do they even lose the ball? You might see some 70-80% possession games, but maybe
incredible.
moving on to the teams that, I know plenty of people might not know about, and probably a lot of us will be learning much more about them this season, through this channel and also through very informed people like Darius. But OGC Nice, I know Christophe Galtier has moved there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the former manager of Lille. What do you make of this? Is this going to be kind of, a similar season for him with the Nice players? Are there any Nice players in particular we need to know about?
So I think, and I've literally been saying for this whole of this video, yeah, managers need a year to bed in their tactics, this, that, and that. I think Christophe Galtier is going to literally hit the ground running. And for me, this season, second place is first place. It's a completely different competition. PSG, that's done. If you finish second place, you may as well get a trophy for that this season. And I think Nice are going to be I think Nice are going to be amazing. And again, I'm just looking at sort of the signings that they've brought in, and it's ridiculous. Calvin Stengs from Alkmaar for 13
Calvin Stengs, thank you for saying that. I forgot about that.
Calvin Stengs for £13 million is ridiculous. Jean-Claire Todibo for £7 million. Didn't have a great couple loan seasons, but still a young player, 21 years old, can only get better. Mario Lemina, again, great player in my opinion, just to have us in the squad if you're Nice for £4 million, almost £5 million. Justin Kluivert on loan. I mean, I really think that Nice are going to do surprisingly, like, not even surprisingly well, because I think Christophe Galtier is, and I would have taken him at Tottenham in my opinion. I think Nice are gonna finish second, probably quite comfortably as well. I think he's going to set up with that exact same 4-4-2. He's got real good attacking talent in that team, and it's only going to go up from there. I think obviously nothing like what's going to happen with Lille. I think the Lille talent was better, and I also think the PSG team was obviously going through a phase where a new manager came in, new ideas. Poch's ideas are completely
right.
You need to be at a certain level of mentality and sort of fitness wise to be able to play that style. So that was the best snatch and grab Lille could have done, and they did it. And Christophe Galtier was the reason they did it. So
he's getting second might even be like getting first. I would say in
like I said,
league.
bro. If you've got Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar in a team, and you're looking at that team, you're not expecting to win any leagues. I'm sorry, and that's not a defeatist mindset at the end of the day. That's just being realistic. So to get Nice into the Champions League second place automatically, I think is a great achievement. And if they even go and do well in the Champions League next season, or even drop down into the Europa League and win that will be seen as a great achievement for them. So that's what they should be looking for. And I think that they'll be fine with that. And then again, Monaco and Marseille. Monaco, I think, oh my gosh, his name's gone out of my head now. He used to manage Bayern. Niko Kovac.
Yeah,
Niko Kovac, again, gets so much disrespect because of the way that it went with Bayern, but I think he's a completely competent coach. I think he'll do perfectly fine, and the talent that's available for him in that Monaco team, I think will allow him to be fine. I think Tchouameni, I don't know if he's going to leave or not, but again, whether he leaves or not, I think it'll be a big impact in that centre mid. But again, with Fabregas sort of being that captain, having that mentality and sort of getting that team going, I just think that there's enough talent in that Monaco team to get them third place. And then George Sampaoli at Marseille. I think Marseille,
the former Sevilla man, right?
Yeah, I think Marseille will do pretty fine. I know they've made a couple signings. I believe Saliba and Guendouzi from Arsenal both joined on loan. So those two players are their Premier League quality, in my opinion, especially Saliba. I think Saliba and Fofana were on the same level. One of them got a move and started playing regularly. The other kept on getting loaned out. So, and obviously I know that Saliba had a few family issues as well. So I think there's a lot of things to be excited about, and we should definitely be aware of Marseille. But yeah, Leon and Lille, I think for me were just to put in there because I really didn't know much about. Yeah, I didn't know much. I think Lille, to say that I think Lille will have a pretty bad season. I don't think Lille will finish sixth. I think Lille will finish closer to the bottom half of the top table,
Wow,
bottom of
what
the
a
top half
drop.
of the table. Yeah,
That's
sadly.
the Galtier effect. That's the Galtier effect.
Sadly.
Maybe just to validate maybe what Darius is saying in terms of Nice. I'm really interested in what they'll look like. I will say Nice they were having this big resurgence as a club, as a city. When Balotelli was moving there and those players, and then it just seemed to kind of flatline. It just seems to stall for a bit. And maybe now with Galtier moving there, you could see that as maybe being the Kickstarter again for Nice to become a big club again. As well with Monaco, Niko Kovac just has an unbelievable talent factory at his disposal. He does have Alexander Golovin, who still seems to be staying there, which I will say will become still, I will say, into
Very
one of
good
the
shout
best
there.
center
Very
mids.
good shout there.
And
Yeah,
Chouameni. Chouameni basically was the best, defensive mid, one of the best destroyers in all world football last season, you would say. And then also considering, I do believe they have plenty of up and coming center backs and defenders on that team. They do have a really good attack. Kevin Volland and Ben Yedder were really good together last season.
Yeah.
The Jovetic even stepped up for them, I would say, at the end of the season, not so much at the beginning, but, he's just injured every day of the week. So he can only show up when he feels like it. And then Marseille is just a really passionate fan base and city that always, must be said. They really have really high expectations of their club, of their players, no matter what it looks like, even with having one of the worst probably you might say, a history of some of the worst owners.
I was going to say,
in football history.
Regardless of the owners, who would have been probably a perfect match for Marseille would be, I think, Jose Mourinho.
They're going to say Daniel Levy.
Whoa, no, I think Jose Mourinho and Marseille, that fan base, the passion that you just mentioned there, I could imagine Jose Mourinho just getting that fan base to become an absolute horror show to play against. So, and they're similar to Roma in that sense, where they're sort of like a bit of a sleeping giant, really. Really, they need to sort of have that push. Maybe Sampaoli's a guy because he is a passionate guy. As well.
That's what I was going to say. I love that you said Sampaoli, because I remembered him in the Sevilla days. He was just absolutely brilliant to see this small, very passionate, red-faced man just pacing up and down the touchline, screaming at his players. That Sevilla team was hilarious to watch back then. Very defensively sound as well. They had a great win against Real Madrid, which I will say again was via Jovetic goal. But then Marseille. It's possible that I think they could have a bit of resurgence, but it must be said they've been on a huge downfall as well. So who knows? But maybe with the Sampaoli hiring, maybe he could just, be able to put out a good squad and a good system. My last picks there, Nantes and Angers. That's basically just, considering the most recent results, the Ligue 1 started really early. They're already, I think, into match day 4 or match day 3. And so Nantes and Angers have started really strong. In fact, Angers are top of the table, as we speak. As well. So you do have to think about it that way, as well as a team called Clermont Foot or Clermont Fou are top of the season or top of the table as well with 6 points. If Angers were to keep up this, rate of form, I would say you could see them finish in the top 6, might sneak into the top 6. And then as well, Nantes have always been, a historic club in Ligue 1, and they do seem to also be starting off the season very well. So I'm just going to, take a big bet, with no information at all at my disposal, and just say that they're going to finish inside the top 6. And that also is just based off of, I do think Lille will have a big fall from form. And I do think that Lyon with Peter Bosch, on paper, he sounds brilliant. He sounds like he has all the right ideas. But when you do watch some of his teams, you are just absolutely flabbergasted.
Wild, isn't it?
He's flabbergasted by some of the things you'll see. And so Lyon have already started absolutely horribly this season. So maybe with Depay and all the departures, maybe it's just going to be a really terrible.
And
they're
looking to sell. They're looking to sell Ryan Cherki and Toussem Aouar as well. And if you lose those 2 players, I mean, Ryan Cherki obviously just started to get into that Lyon team, but he looks like a massive talent. And then Aouar was at one point, he was captaining them for parts of it.
Yeah.
So crazy stuff.
And Peter Bosch, like I said, he's not defensively solid, so
he doesn't care. He doesn't care about defense. He doesn't know what defense is. Peter Bosch. I watched Leverkusen when Havertz was there, and it was if Havertz wasn't banging goals for them, like he scored 19 goals, I think in that season, they would have been in trouble. real trouble.
And even he coached or managed Dortmund for a season as well,
Of
and that was
course he
one of
did, and
Dortmund's.
of
That was
course
one of
I
their
can't.
worst
Yeah,
seasons in a while as well. So just Petra
horrible.
Bosch, he's one of my managers. He's my number one manager that I tipped to get the sack this season. So I will say, like, even despite him being hired this season, I will think he will get the sack because he has a good history of getting sacked in his first seasons as well. So I just think Lyon is a very passionate fan base, very basically I would say Ligue 1's most historic side as well. So you just think that they're not gonna let him take the club too far down, despite all the departures that they're making. But let's just finish off with La Liga here. This one is going to be a bit interesting, I would say, for the top of the
Ooh.
table. Maybe we'll just talk about the top three here. I have Barcelona taking the title. As much as, again, that pains me, I really am not a Barcelona fan whatsoever.
Not
Absolutely
anymore. Not anymore.
for Los. No, for me, it's always been
Has
for
it?
Los Blancos. Always been. I've always
Wow,
been a Kron
interesting.
fan. Always
Cool.
been a man. Always been a fan of the man that was made in a factory, the man that was made as a robot, Kron. Whereas Messi, considering even his departure, it just makes me a bit sick sometimes to see people, act like it's not Messi's fault and all these things when you are asking for $1 million a week from your club. It just seems like maybe you could, ask for just 500,000 maybe instead, just maybe. But, that's just my feelings on Messi. But as well, they looked brilliant, and we're
Oh
cheating a
yeah.
bit. We're cheating a bit, with having seen the first game of them, over the last weekend. But I will say they did look brilliant. Depay looks unbelievable for La Liga. I think he looks even a bit unfair for La Liga, considering it's probably the slowest league, you might say, even in terms of defenders. Like, there are not a lot of pacey defenders, you might say,
Very
in
true.
La Liga. And so with Depay, the way that he plays, his intelligence and movement, his techers, his finishing ability, it just seems like he is absolutely designed to destroy La Liga. I mean, he's a very different player from Neymar, but you do consider how much Neymar, tore apart La Liga. I could see Depay doing a lot of similar highlight reels to what
You
Neymar
already
had,
saw that
back
flick
in the
over the
day.
defender's head, didn't you?
That's what I mean. Like, it's just
Disgusting.
it's just
Disgusting.
eerily similar to what Neymar had done back in the day there. And then as well, like, the Dutch Revolution that seems to be happening there, could
Yep.
be, something that maybe the fans might get behind, considering that is kind of the roots of even, their beautiful football, is coming from a huge Dutch influence. I just feel like it's just made for success. I don't even rate Ronald Koeman as manager as well, which is what's
It's the
funny.
players though, isn't it, mate? Like
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I'm just literally going in my head right now. That midfield is Busquets, De Jong, and Pedri is it's absolutely ridiculous midfield. Like that's a good enough midfield
never
in
take
my
a ball
opinion
off
to
that
compete.
midfield.
Ever,
Never.
ever. Like, come on, that is for me. That's one of the best midfielders in the world, and two of them are basically youngsters. So, and then you have someone like Ansu Fati who had 8 goal involvements and 8
Yeah,
starts before he got injured.
coming back from injury too
Coming
now.
back, Memphis Depay, Griezmann, all these players where, again, Messi's Messi. Obviously, if Messi could stay, Messi would stay. But and I said this to a friend of mine who was actually a Barcelona fan. He was sort of like, I agreed with him. He sort of said, okay, Messi's gone. I'm absolutely heartbroken. Obviously, he's not Spanish, so he doesn't feel it as deeply. But he said, if you actually think about it from a football standpoint, you're going to lose a lot of goal involvements, but there's a lot of players here that can make up for that, who are trying to also set Messi up and do the most for Messi. So when you give them the responsibility, if they shoulder that responsibility, then they should be okay. The only reason why I disagree with you and put them in second is because of Rodrigo de Paul. I think he's going to be
He is a baller. He
he's going to
is
be
a
an
baller.
amazing addition to that Atletico team and just give them the creativity that they needed. Where I think Suarez got 20 goals. They managed to get 20 goals out of him last season, but they didn't really have a creative player like that. They just sort of were able to basically dominate teams, and they changed the formation into a 3-4-3, which was able to help them dominate teams. But I now think with somebody like Rodrigo de Paul in there, and if they do manage, I'm hearing that Dusan Vlahovic is linked. I don't know if he's going to sign. I heard that they also linked with Matthias Cunha as well, which will be an absolutely ridiculous signing as well. If they get Cunha in and they have Rodrigo de Paul and they keep that defense like how it is, you got Jan Oblak in goal. No way they're not winning the league, in my opinion. Real Madrid, in my opinion, if they don't sign Mbappe, I think it's going to be a tough one. I really do.
It is going to be a tough one. That's where,
that's
my most shaky pick is actually, and I think it's a good transition there. I will say, like, in terms of Real Madrid, like, I will say, I don't have a lot of defense for them being second. Atletico, all the signings that you just mentioned, and even potential signings they just mentioned, it would absolutely put them head and shoulders above Real. But it just seems like, Real, they just always seem to find a way, to be able to just put themselves in the conversation. They can have these incredible slip ups. They can have these incredible drops of form, but you always just still see them just finish second. You see them, take the title, especially recently, take the title, where, and also considering, it's been a bit of a drought of titles for Barcelona. I do feel like maybe this is the season where they just have to win it. And I do think you really made my point even better by saying there are a lot of players that, like, I would say this is the last chance for Dembele over there to be able to maybe prove himself. You maybe might think he might all of a sudden just blow up now that Messi's gone. Maybe he just will be
able. If his knees don't blow up first, that's the problem.
That could definitely be true. But you do consider all these players that they have at Barcelona. It might just be a bit of pressure is taken off their shoulders in the way that they play. I don't think they'll do especially well in the Champions League, which is funny about this Barcelona team. But I just feel like, when they play Alaves, when they play Elche, just teams that, like teams like Real Madrid, sometimes weirdly might struggle against sometimes. I feel like Barcelona will be that team that will just absolutely roll teams like that over. Whereas before they struggled like against those teams. Whereas now that Messi's gone, I feel like a bit of pressure is taken off their shoulders and they'll just play right through these guys. Atletico, though, considering those signings you were talking about, I mean, I have no defense against that. I love Rodrigo de Paul.
He's amazing, isn't he?
Maybe amazing. I would say is they didn't start too well in their first game. They looked a bit shaky. I wasn't able to
watch it. Who did they play in the first game?
I think they played against a smaller league side. It might have been Alaves or Elche, maybe the team that I just mentioned before. And they finished 2-1. It was a bit of also a feisty game. There were lots of fights. But also then I will say, I digress and say, if you have Joao Felix, and I even tipped him again as, my young players to watch out for, just because to remind everybody that Joao Felix is only 20, 21 years old. Literally. It's insane. Somebody that moved for that amount of money, someone that we've practically known about for so long is still that young. And so you do have to just consider that Joao Felix, especially if you were to be combined with the likes of Mateusz Cunha, I mean, geez, like, again, I mean, that's just not fit for human consumption, a team like that. So, yeah, the top three is almost impossible to predict. I'm going to stay firm and say Barcelona is going to be first. I think Darius convinced me enough to say that Madrid, Atletico would finish second. But, just because I like Real Madrid, I'm going to have them finish second. That's the part where the bias is going to come in very heavily there. Sevilla, I've always really enjoyed Sevilla. I really do rate Sevilla, especially Lopetegui is a great manager. Maybe, Lopetegui might have a good season, but I will say their squad is, there are a lot of players that want to leave. But the tactics are strong there. The team is strong defensively. Jules Koundé, in my opinion, one of the best center backs in all of world football already. Easily the best passing center back in all of world football already, next to probably Tapsoba as well. Those are probably the two best passing center backs, I would say. Pau Torres as well. But with Sevilla, I think they could get a strong fourth or third, maybe even an outside shout for third. But then Villarreal with Unai Emery, I could see them having another good Europa League campaign, maybe another good cup competition. I just don't think their team is strong enough for this type of competition, to outlast these other teams. And then Real Sociedad, I agree with you as well there. It's just a team that might do well in a cup competition, but they are a bit limited by, not only their choice to play only Basque players and native players to the region, but also just the market. And you'd also could consider, they've had opportunities to, continue their beautiful runs of form, and they haven't. It seems like Real Sociedad always starts off really strong and then just fades really hard towards the end of the season as well. So I think that could be the case with Villarreal and Real Sociedad. But I mean, Darius, any maybe last words here for the La Liga?
I think it's, again, the top three and the fourth to sixth can probably vary between the three, depending on how well each do. Sevilla, again, I think the manager makes a big difference. And then Eric Lemessi makes a massive difference as well. He scored a brace on his debut, so he seems like he's really on it this season. And I just think that with a spine of Papu Gomez, Ivan Rakitic, and Eric Lamela, you've got a pretty combative sort of midfield experienced group of players here that can help the forward players and sort of be a good spine for that team. Villarreal, Emery gets way too much disrespect. Guy's a good coach, don't care what you say. That Europa League is his. As long as he's in that Europa League, he could potentially win it. I know he's in the Champions League to start with, but he could do great. He could do good things. I think they've got a good enough team to do well. And then Real Sociedad, I think Oyarzabal and Alexander Isaac, two players that I think will be able to get them into a sixth place position just because of their talent and sort of the goals that they will score for their team. So I just think it's a difficult one to predict La Liga. I'm not a big fan of La Liga at all, to be honest. I think it's really
it's
lost
probably
its way.
it might even replace, Ligue 1 for me as,
Yeah.
being my least favorite, especially because,
Maybe
like I
because
said,
it's
I
difficult
need
to
to
get
improve my
access to
Ligue
as
1.
well. Yeah, maybe because
Yeah,
it's difficult to get access to as well in the UK. But for me, La Liga is not my favorite league. But what I will say is those teams in the Champions League, I always like to watch Atletico, Barcelona, Real Madrid in the Champions League. They always have that sort of that royalty
yeah,
feeling to them. So even
definitely.
Atletico Madrid, I believe. So yeah, it'll be good to see them in the Champions League. But La Liga, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not that fussed. But what I will say is Barcelona, I think, will definitely have a much, like, they will be completely fine this season. Like, they will be
Love that.
more than okay. More than okay.
Like that you're backing me up there, but I'll just go through it again. Maybe just talk about maybe the top two, the two people competing for the title in each league. Darius has gone for Atletico and Barcelona. I'm going for Barcelona and Real, but I think his argument for Atletico was very convincing there. For both of us, it's going to be PSG and Nice. That's just going to be because PSG just goes without saying. And then Nice, Christophe Galtier, maybe looking like one of the best, managers in world football at the moment. Galtier, if he were to continue that with Nice, it just would be absolutely confirmed. I would say Bayern and Dortmund again are just going to be, at each other's throats, for this title. Maybe you might say there's a really good chance it could be Dortmund this season, maybe more than other seasons. So maybe keep an eye out on the Bundesliga for that. And then Juventus and are both, going to be title winners for us.
Mm-hmm.
But, we did definitely divide a bit on these ones. I will say
You
it was a
sold me.
good
You sold me on
conversation.
AC Milan now. I think you know what I'm going to do. I am going to officially swap Atalanta and AC Milan. But that's the
I
only
don't think
swap I'm going to do.
Gasperini will hold it against you. I don't think he'll hold it against you. He'd probably be quite happy with third place. And then moving on to the Premier League, we both have Chelsea going for it. And then I'm going to say it's going to be the two Germans battling for the title with Klopp and Tuchel. And he's going to say Pep is going to go for it. I mean, to say Pep is going to finish third, I would say like I did,
Sounds
down
crazy,
below.
but you
That's
know
a bit
what?
crazy. It does sound a bit crazy. He does bully everybody in the league. So
Just got Jack
hard to
Grealish
say
as well.
that. Hard to say, especially just got Jack Grealish as well. But that is the end of it, everybody. I really do hope you enjoyed Darius and I's picks. I really do appreciate Darius for as well, taking the time out of his day, out of his afternoon, especially before work, to do this with me. And as well, Darius was the first one to pick all these. So, I kind of was able to use his picks as a basis. So he honestly stepped up to the plate. Darius, I'm pretty sure everybody knows you from Paxton Road. We're going to be seeing plenty of you on the Irish Hotspur. I know you know that. But, where can the people find you? Any stuff we should look out for?
Well, like I said, hopefully I'll be a regular on this amazing channel as well. Because again, me and Jack speaking European football, I don't really know anything that's better than that. It's just European football. Just Tottenham puts a smile on my face. Don't get me wrong.
Therapy for sure.
European football is it's a lot more therapeutic to watch, and I can really enjoy it and sort of not have to worry about anything. So you'll definitely see me on this channel talking all different football leagues, and obviously I'll be on the Irish Hotspur channel, and hopefully I've got a new show coming up on Paxton Road as well that I might be hosting, a more tactical lineup based on the games and the games coming ahead in the Premier League. So maybe Jack, I might have to see you on there a couple of times as well. We can talk lineups and Nuno's tactics. So yeah, keep me all. You'll see me everywhere, guys. And then obviously on Twitter, I'm Darius3K on Twitter. So if you want to follow me there, go ahead as well. But
and it'll be down in the description, everybody. Thank you, Darius. Thank you, Darius. Be down in the description, the link to the Paxton Road YouTube channel, and then the link to also the Paxton Road Twitter, as well as Darius's Twitter. I know with Darius's Twitter, it's a very fun personal Twitter, so it's not going to be everything football, by the way, as a disclaimer. So as well, if you just want to keep it football, definitely follow Paxton Road, and just please keep an eye out on Paxton Road. Everybody there is unbelievable. I tune in as much as I can. I know David and I from the Irish Hotspur love it. But yeah, everybody, really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. We just gave you the lowdown on the top 6 of all of Europe's top 5 leagues. We really do hope you enjoy it. That will be the end of this on Flat Cap Euro Talk. I will be seeing you guys soon. I know Darius will be seeing you guys soon. So yeah, we'll be seeing you.